Hey friends, Wandering Pastor here on another beautiful early fall evening in the woods, and I was just thinking, what do you think of when you hear the name of God? How would you describe him? For many of us, we know things about God in our head. We know what he's supposed to be like. We know he's good and he's holy and he's powerful and he's eternal, all those things. And those are all true things. But for an increasing number of people, they kind of make up God as they want him to be. God is accepting. God is patient. God is non-judgmental. We kind of make God as we want him to be, and we worship that God. And as long as that God is real, then okay, we're in good shape, because after all, he has no real standards that he's going to enforce or anything like that. But in our culture, we tend to exalt our own opinions more than anything else. In other words, we sit in the seat of the one who makes the decisions. We exalt ourselves to the point where I can decide what's right and what's wrong, and there are no moral absolutes. And so who are you to think anything different? Who are you to tell me anything different? And after all, if God is kind of how I think he is, then I'm all set. I'm in good shape. And that would be true if God is however you want to make him out to be. But if God actually exists, and that if he, as the scriptures say, existed from before the foundation of the world, if he is the creator, the one who, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, if he's that one who owns it all and created it all, he then knows what is best, and he knows what is right, and he gets to make the call. See, in our day and age, we kind of make up a God as we understand him. And that God doesn't deserve all that much worship, because he's a pretty wishy-washy God. Think about it. If the God who is real could be changed by your opinions or mine, that's not much of a God. If God would just take whatever you give him, that's not much of a standard. That's not much of a being that is intelligent or wise or powerful or holy or any of that kind of stuff. And the truth is, of course, the scriptures teach that we tell ourselves these things, but it's not true. In Romans chapter 1, let me just read a little bit of this. They know the truth about God because he has made it obvious to them. Forever since the creation of the world, people have been able to see the world he created. People have seen the earth and sky, and through everything God made, they can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power, and his divine nature. So they have no excuse for not knowing God. Yes, they knew God, but they wouldn't worship him as God or even give him thanks. And they began to think up foolish ideas about what God was like. As a result, their minds became dark and confused, and claiming to be wise, they instead became fools. They worshiped things as they could invent them. They worshiped their own ideas. Claiming to be wise, they became fools. Even though what they knew about God, they should have been able to deduce that God has a will, and God is intelligent, and God has a design, and therefore they needed to get in line with that. They needed to figure out what that is. They needed to understand that. But really what we in the world have done instead is kind of try to make God almost the cafeteria plan. We go like in the cafeteria lunch line. You pick up the cupcakes and the burgers or the pizza buns, but you leave the carrots and the broccoli or whatever. And that's kind of how we treat God. But here's the deal. God isn't like that. God exists. God is real. God has a will. God has a plan. God has standards. And we have all fallen short of those standards. Every one of us, myself included. Therefore, if we don't have an understanding of God, if we don't have the willingness to get to know him as he says he is, as revealed in the Word, if we don't have the desire to understand him and to please him and try to bring our lives into conformity to his will, then we are just playing God. In fact, we're putting ourselves in the position of God, because after all, we're saying to God, hey, Lord, I know you've revealed yourself. I don't like that version of you. Therefore, I'm going to choose my own. And in that sense, we're exalting ourselves above him, which makes no sense at all. So I guess I have a question for you. Ask yourself, do you believe God is real? Some of you may say no, but I think most of you would say yes. And if you do, are you worshiping him as God and coming to him on his terms? Or are you asking him to come to you on your terms? See, the truth is he wants to know you and I. He wants to give us life. He wants to give us freedom and victory and eternal life. And he does it through Jesus Christ. And that's the beautiful thing. You and I can have that. We just need to reach out to him on his terms. Wandering Pastor saying peace. Hope you have a great day. Reach out to the Lord.